Hello and welcome to my Moonphase gardening series. This video covers the period from Thursday the 31st of August 2023 to Sunday the 3rd of September. So let's start with the first category, and that is flowers. On Thursday it's Flowers Day, and flowers obviously include anything that's a flower. It also includes, if you want to talk about veg, flowers are any cauliflower, which include Romanesco as well, purple sprouting broccoli, and Calabrese, or broccoli, or tender stem if you want to call it that as well. So that's your categories for flowers in veg. Right, so let's go through all my categories that I do every day on Moonphase gardening, and that is sowing, harvesting, weeding, and feeding. I'm going to cover the harvesting here. So I've got this beautiful teepee where I had these gorgeous sweet peas, and I've still got quite a lot left. And I've left quite a lot of these pods because I want to harvest them. And Flowers Day is a really good day to harvest seeds. So I'm just going to cut off these pods that are already starting to go brown because I know that they're drying out. You don't need many because I would say there's about 8 seeds in there. So I'm going to do that. Any flowers that you want to keep seed for, you can harvest now. I've also got some agapanthus that are just here in front of me. Now, when they go nice and brown, those seed pods, they're ready to harvest. You can actually cut those off if you want to and turn them upside down because they will dry off themselves, which is really beautiful. So I will continue harvesting my sweet peas. The next thing is weeding, and of course it's self-explanatory, isn't it? So this, they still look quite nice, these flowers here. This is my bedding, and I put these in the beginning of spring, but it's time now to start taking out your bedding, and I call this weeding actually. So I just take out this bedding here, because by the time you cut all of this back, you're not really going to get a second flush. And there are some lovely bedding plants about now, like pansies, violas, and they're really beautiful. So by weeding this here, I know it's not really strictly something that you need to do on a Flowers Day. You can weed any day. But because of my little schedule of the Moonphase gardening, it just reminds me all the time to do certain areas of the garden or the allotment. When I see Flowers Day come up, I always say, okay, I'm going to weed around all my flowers, and that means pulling out my bedding. The next thing I'm going to be doing on Flowers Day is, which I do every Moonphase day, is I'm going to sow. I'm going to sow some Hardy Annuals. This is a great time of year to sow Hardy Annuals, and that means all the plants that can actually stay outside, either in pots or you can actually plant them in the garden and they will overwinter, and next spring they just go whoosh like that. Things like Nigella, antirrhinums or snapdragons, gypsophila, poppies, all of that kind of stuff are Hardy Annuals, and that's my sowing.
Here are 3 Hardy Annuals. They are a poppy, an antirrhinum or snapdragon, and cornflower black ball. I'm actually doing a little sewing course, autumn sewing course, with a couple of friends of mine on Instagram. So I'm going to put the link down below so you can have a look at the courses that they do. They're really excellent, and yeah, it's great. And the seeds are also from another colleague of mine on Instagram, Bishy Barnaby's Cottage Garden, and Melanie does some beautiful seeds. So that's what I'm going to be doing.
And for my veg that are flowers, I'm going to weed and feed. I have some very, very nice Calabrese at the allotment, and I'm going to weed all around them and take off all the bottom leaves that are looking a little bit dried up or yellow, or if they're being nibbled by any slugs. Because on brassicas, if you can take off all the bottom leaves, especially on flower plants like Calabrese and purple sprouting broccoli, then you will actually deter things like slugs and snails, because they don't necessarily want to go up a stem. I'm going to give them a little feed also with a nitrogen feed. For Friday the 1st of September and Saturday the 2nd of September, it's Leaves Day. And leaves are anything that you eat that is a leaf. So, for instance, lettuce, which is a heading lettuce. Then we've got what I call cut and come, which is a mixed salad mix. So that's a leaf. Things like your Asian greens, pak choi, bok choy, anything that's like a kale, any brassica. So we've got cabbages, we've got kale, and also you can think about grass. And grass is actually a leaf. So grass can be cut on a Leaves Day as well. It's much more beneficial for the grass to be cut on a Leaves Day. I've got some seeds that I'm going to sow as well, so I'll show you those in a minute. But while I'm here at my Vegepod, at my medium Vegepod, I just want to, I'm looking all the time for pests. Harvest. So this is harvest, and I harvest lettuce in two different ways. When you get a heading lettuce like this, and this is a cos, I've already harvested from this lettuce. I usually, depending on how many lettuce I've got, if I've got a lot of lettuce, I will actually cut it off at the bottom. But if I don't have a lot of lettuce, which I don't really at the moment, I take the leaves off from the outside. And look how beautiful that is. It's a massive leaf. And when I see holes like this, I go on the hunt, because holes like that are caterpillars. I've already taken the caterpillars out of this Vegepod. So all of these, here's another leaf here. So you always harvest from the outside. So that's heading lettuce. Then things like this cut and come here, I get my scissors, and whilst this oak leaf is actually a heading lettuce itself, I treat this as cutting and coming again. So all I do is I just grab a heap of lettuce and I cut about 2 inches from the stem, and that's your salad mix. So that's the mix that you get in those bags in the supermarket. And that's, I'll just do a little bit more. See? Beautiful, beautiful. Here are some of the leaves that I'm going to sow on Leaves Day, which is Friday and Saturday this week. Friday the 1st, Saturday the 2nd of September. The first thing I'm going to sow is this spinach. I love this giant winter spinach. It overwinters beautifully and you get a great crop from it. It doesn't have a tendency to bolt. The next thing I also like eating through the winter is Claytonia. It's a salad leaf and it is gorgeous. So that's the next thing that I'm going to sow. And then the other thing that falls into leaves are spring onions or salad onions. And my two favorites for winter is the North Holland Blood Red. Now I know I know this is a bulbing onion, but I like to use the actual green bits on this. And anything that lasts over the winter, I then let bulb up. And my favorite spring onion for this time of year is Guardsman. So those are some of the leaves that I'm going to sow. So my category of sowing also includes transplanting. I have some really lovely tatsoi here, and tatsoi is an Asian green. You can't really get it from supermarkets. I haven't seen it in supermarkets here in the UK. You might be able to get it from an Asian supermarket, but I'll put a picture up just to show you what it looks like. When it's little like this, it's gorgeous. So I just go in, take out a plug, and here's my little plug here. And I am going to, I've got this space in this Vegepod because I've just cut back my wild rocket that I've actually done through the summer. It is very, very peppery, this wild rocket. And I am just going to make a bit of a hole here. Tatsoi grows as big as a dinner plate, so it needs quite a lot of room. Go in and do that. And I think I might get 4 in here actually. There are 2 seeds per cell. I wait for the growth just a little bit more, and then I might just pull one of the seedlings out. And that is my transplanting of leaves. And my weeding and feeding for leaves is this kale bed. You can see it's got this kind of very kind of superficial weed on the top here that I'm going to start pulling out. And actually, I don't know whether it's detrimental, whether it's actually really good for the kale, because the kale is doing really, really well. I'm not sure whether I'll actually feed it, but the bed next to it, which has got this, I use this veggie mesh on top of all my kale so I don't get white butterflies in there. That's got some of the scarlet kale. I might feed that. And at this time of year, I give my kale and all my brassicas just a very, very straightforward multi-purpose feed. It's high in everything, nitrogen, phosphorus, all of that. And it is just Miracle Grow all purpose. And I will feed those. So that is my weeding and feeding of leaves on Leaves Day. And the last day of the week, Sunday, the 3rd of September, is two halves again. Morning is Unfavourable, and then in the afternoon we go back to fruits again, which we started with at the beginning of this week. So my job is going to be cutting back my summer fruiting raspberries. And I'll show you what I do with that, a video of it. The other thing that I'm thinking of doing is, because I've had a second flush of strawberries, I'm going to weed my strawberry bed and collect all my runners and make little strawberry plants.
So like I said, this is a perfect time for cutting down your summer fruiting raspberries. Here we have the old stalk of a summer fruiting raspberry, and there is the newer one. You can see the difference in the colour. So what I do is I follow this old stalk down, which actually had the fruit on it for this year, and there it is, just there. And that I am going to actually cut off with some secateurs right at the bottom, like so. See next to it, you can see the newer stem, and they're those two kind of reddy coloured stems. So I've got two new stems there. One is quite long. It goes up and up and up and up and up to the top of the frame. So I'm going to get this stem and attach it to the frame with some string like so in a figure of 8. So the difference between autumn fruiting raspberries is this is an autumn fruiting raspberry, and as you go up, there are two new stems, and there is your fruit coming. And I also have some fruit further up that is ripening, and those stems are new this year. They have fruit on this year's growth, and there are some beautiful autumn raspberries. Yum.
And as a reminder, because Sunday morning is Unfavourable, have a lie in, get yourself a cup of tea, and have a look at what bulbs you can be buying for next spring, because that's what I've been looking at. We're already looking ahead. So that's week 1 of SusyBLiving's Moonphase gardening series. I hope to see you next week. So again, on Sunday night, I will be bringing out the first half of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week. And I hope you've enjoyed this week, and I hope you've been able to get out and do some Moonphase gardening. And if my tips have been good, then give me a thumbs up, and it'd be lovely if you can subscribe too, and you can continue Moonphase gardening with me. So I'll see you later. Bye.